Hi everyone, my name is Jen. I'm Backcountry Stitcher and welcome to my channel. I have been gone for a hot minute, so if you are new here, welcome. Thank you for clicking. I hope you enjoy. And if you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. I know I've been gone for a while. I think April 7th was my last Flosstube that I posted, and it is now January 1st, 2025. So I'll get into at the end a little bit where I've been. There's been some major life changes for me. The short version is that I quit my job. So I left the hospital that I was working at. I was on a sabbatical for about 3 months, and then I started at a new hospital. I am still doing veterinary dentistry, still have the same job description, still doing all the same stuff, just at a different hospital. So it was something that I knew was going on for a while, but I couldn't really talk about. So that was part of the reason I disappeared. Everything's been good. I just had to take a break. Life just got a little bit too busy. And yeah, so I'll go into more detail of that at the end because I know most of you guys are here for the stitching. So yeah, so let's get into it. I have a bunch of stuff to share because it's been a while. So I thought that since it's been so long, I would just basically do this as a WIP parade because I've worked on almost all of my projects since I last saw you guys. I did want to share some finishes too to start. I did have some, I guess they're saps for you guys. I started and finished them since my last project or my last video and wanted to share those. So yeah, let's just get into it. So the first finish I have to share is, I actually just finished this the other day. This is the Jackrabbit from Cottage Garden Samplings. So this is one of their Year in the Woods series, and this is stitched on, I think it's called Meadows by Be Stitch Me. It's 32 count, yeah, 32 count, 2/2, and this fabric was made specifically for the Year in the Woods series. So this is the Jackrabbit. This is actually the 5th one. Yeah, the 5th one that I've completed. I have this grand plan of stitching all of them and making them into seasonal pillows for our guest room. I've actually finished all of the winter ones, but I have not gotten a chance to make those into pillows yet. So yeah, so this is the Jackrabbit. I just finished that the other night, and he is so cute. Somebody says he looks a little cheeky because he's kind of got like a little sly smile. So he's cute. I'm gonna just be moving on and doing them in order now of just how they were released. So the next one I'm gonna start is the ferret. I have not started that one yet, but I will hopefully get started on that in the next couple of weeks. Now, the other finishes I have, actually, there's 3 of them. So in April, actually, I think a week after I posted my last video, I went to the Spring Stitch West, and that was with Primrose Cottage, and that was so much fun. They were such a great designer to have for a retreat, and they actually had a couple of retreat exclusives. So they had one that was given out, and then they gave you like everything to stitch it. They gave you the fabric, they gave you the floss, but they were so smart. They gave you the floss to complete. There was a set of 3. So one of them we got as part of the retreat, and then there were 2 others that you could purchase, and they gave you the floss for all of them so that you could complete all of them. And then they also had a finishing kit. So they gave you finishing stuff for the one that they gave out for the retreat, but they had finishing kits for the other one of the other ones too. Brilliant on their part, because everyone was like, oh, we have the stuff to stitch all of this already, so let's get the pattern. So it did that. So there were 3. And this one was, and you'll have to forgive me because I don't have the pattern anymore because I gave it to someone. I gave it to Renee, and I think it was called Honeybee Quilt. Yes, Honeybee Quilt. And this one I actually stitched with Christina, Stitchy Symphony. She and I started it at the retreat when we got it, and we actually finished it together the next weekend when we were at Stitch North. So, and I haven't ironed anything, so just bear with me. So this is Honeybee Quilt, and I think this is available to purchase now, or it may be available to purchase soon, by Primrose Cottage. And it was so cute. So that's Honeybee Quilt. And this one, I have all the finishing stuff to turn it into a little pillow. The next one, and this is one of the ones we purchased, or you could purchase, this is called Honeybees and Stitching Please. And this one I love. So I just love that fat little bee and like the honeycomb back stitching there. This also, I have the finishing kit for to turn into a pillow. Obviously that has not been done yet. This one I started at Queen City Stitch Retreat in October and then finished it the next weekend at the Fall Stitch West. So this was pretty quick stitch and I really enjoyed it. And this one is definitely available for purchase. And the last one, I believe, is called Honeybee Basket or Honey Basket, I want to say. And this one I started at our own little private retreat. I wouldn't call it a private retreat. It was just a gathering of friends. We went to some of my stitchy friends and I, a whole bunch of us went to Portland to just get together and stitch and explore Portland a little bit. We went to Acorns and Threads. That was awesome, which is actually where I got the fabric for this. And this is Honeybee Basket. And so I finished that one. And this one, actually, they have it finished on a, like a wood board, but they did it with this custom board or custom wood thing. I don't know what you call it, but it looks like a little honeybee hive and it's got a little bee etched into it. It's not available. And I did email or message the people that make it on Etsy. They said it's going to be available in the spring. They're going to re-release it. So I may finish it that way. Or I may turn it into a pillow, which is about the extent of my sewing abilities at this point. It's not true. I've sewed a couple of bags. So yeah, this one I started and finished this in Portland. So really all of these have kind of been like retreat pieces for me, but they're all done now. And I really enjoyed stitching on them. Primrose Cottage is, I wouldn't have picked them out a couple years ago, but they're growing on me, man. I really like it. And so when I finished Honeybees and Stitching Please, I was at the retreat and I had a couple of pieces to stitch. I was at Stitch West and I just like didn't feel like stitching on any of them, but thankfully oh shoot, who was the designer for it? Was a Hands-On Design, I think. Heart and Hand? No, shoot, it was something with hands. Why can't I remember this? All right, I'm gonna put it right here of who the designer was. She was great though. She was another great designer. She was just really a lot of fun, and she gave us a retreat exclusive pattern. There's actually 3. I only stitched one, and I probably will only stitch the one. And they again gave us everything to finish it, to stitch it and to finish it. They gave us all the floss and all the finishing stuff, even the board that it goes on. So I started this and I finished this actually within like a week, and it's called Make Today Count. And it's got all these little motifs everywhere. They even gave us the board. They didn't give us the paint. Oh, Hands-On Design. That's who it was. Sorry. It was Hands-On Design. I don't know why I couldn't. I knew there was a hand in it. So Hands-On Design did this, and they gave us the board. They didn't give us the paint, so I just picked up like a sample size paint at Ace Hardware and painted the board, and then put it on a piece of foam board or whatever it was, and yeah, and I laced it, and then this stuff is glued on. I know, like glue and stitching like seems weird, but how else I don't know how else you were supposed to attach this fringy stuff. So glued that on, and then this is like a little ribbon bow that's just pinned in the top, and then just glued it all to the board. And so not super much, like not my typical style. I don't know if I would have stitched this if I wasn't like feeling just a little weird about, I just didn't want to stitch on anything I brought. So it was really difficult to stitch on too, I'll be honest with you, because this is linen. This is, I think it was 32 count linen, and it's dark. So it was a little bit difficult to stitch on, especially at the retreat, even at home, but it stitched up really fast. Like I said, I worked on this probably the last like half day and the last day of the retreat, so a day and a half, and then I finished it up in a couple of days at home. This was fully finished within about 2 weeks, week and a half to 2 weeks of getting it. So, and there were a couple other patterns that are along the same theme. Like I said, I probably won't stitch those, but they were cute. So I don't know, this has been in our living room. It doesn't really go with our decor, so I might bring it to work and have it and hang it like at work. I don't know. So it's just been hanging out for now, but yeah, so there's that one. Now, excuse me, big finish, really big finish. So as some of you guys may remember, I was doing a round robin with some of my friends on a pattern called Ackworth Quaker by Vivsters, who you can find her on Etsy. And we basically split the pattern into 6 parts, and we all stitched we stitched different parts on each other's pieces. We all had different ways that we wanted them stitched. Some people did monochromatic. Renee's, the Appalachian stitcher, hers turned out beautiful. I mean, they all turned out stunning. Hers was like white on blue. And then we did, Christina, Stitchy Symphony, did rainbow assortment, but she picked the colors out that she wanted everyone to do. Jamie of Cross Stitch and Chill, hers was teal and brown, but she let us kind of pick where we wanted to do the teal highlights. Jen from What Are You Doing Studios, she did different shades of green. It was just, everyone did something different. Now I embraced the chaos, and I stitched my piece, and then I was like, okay, I want everyone to pick their favorite color, or just pick a color. I don't care what it is, and just stitch your part in whatever color you want. I did my center part, which was the like flowers. I did the stems in green, and then I did my motifs in blue, and I did just the vase in black. I probably would have picked a different color if I'd been thinking ahead, but whatever. And then I let everyone pick different parts, but we completely finished it. And we got to display it at Stitch West in the fall, and here it is. So again, this is Ackworth Quaker by Vivsters. Vivian Powers, I think is her name. And look at this. So I'm going to try and show you guys all the motifs. It's so big. I mean, it's like enormous. And it came out so good. I love all the colors people picked. I feel like everyone kind of went with like a dusky color, and it just came out so beautiful. I have zero clue what I'm going to do with this because it is enormous. Part of me wants to turn it into like a bag, but I also feel like that would be an enormous bag. So I don't know if I'm just going to frame it. And I probably would frame it myself, but I'd have to get a custom frame. I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but I love it. And I really feel like this, this means a lot because it was a bunch of friends that stitched on it. And it's funny to me because like looking at the back, like you can tell like different people stitched on it. Everyone has their own stitching styles. We loved it. So yeah, we finished this. I think Jen was the last one to finish this at Stitch West, and me, Jamie, Jen, and Christina were all able to hold this up and show it at Stitch West, and everyone loved it. So yeah, so that was the big finish. This took about a year-ish. I really feel like it was just a year, maybe it was a year and a half. I don't remember. It took about a year for everyone to finish, and it was great. So that is the finish. So those are all of my finishes, I believe, since I last saw you guys. I don't think I finished anything else. who knows? No, I didn't finish anything else. Those are all my finishes since I last saw you. So I'm going to be sipping water. I'm really dry right now for some reason. So let's get into the whips. So I did take everything out of the Q-snap. So this is kind of like so it's like a real whip parade, I guess. And I did not iron. So sorry. I think I have all of my whips. There's a very real possibility one of them got forgotten. I feel like I forgot one, but because it seems like not as many as I thought, but I did have some finishes, so who knows. I will show you the cover photos. I should have the cover photos for all of them, except for one, in which case I'll insert it. I don't have previous photos of like what it looked like previously because that's just been, it's been a while, so I'm not gonna have that, but I will be taking photos and trying to track it a little bit better coming in the future. So I'm gonna start with, this is in no particular order. This is really just in the order that they are out. So this first one is Zion National Park, and this is by Unique Stitch Crafts. I got this on Etsy, and that is what it will look like. Now, some of you may remember years ago I finished an arches project. This is the same designer. I started kind of in here and moved down here. I haven't gotten very far. I think I'm like 13% in. And I need to make sure I put this in the right direction because it just looks like a blob of colors right now. So it does not look like anything in particular. So this is going to be, and this is a picture of Angel's Landing, which if you're familiar with Zion, Angel's Landing is probably, so that's Angel's Landing. Angel's Landing is probably one of the most famous landmarks in Zion. It's a very popular hike. You have to get a permit now. You can hike to the base of the scary part, but then you have to have a permit to hike the scary part, which is like all chains and steep drops, and it's terrifying. I have done it, and I've done it once. I'm pretty good on I don't need to do it again. But this is Angel's Landing. So you can see I started here kind of in the, I started in the center, did center start, I kind of have been moving my way down, and then like down here, I've gotten down to the lower right corner and got the K in for, it'll say Zion National Park. So I just did that. And this is really nice to stitch, especially when I'm doing zooms and stuff, because it's just really a lot of block stitching. So it can get kind of boring, but especially after finishing my arches project, like that came out really, really nice. So nice, my sister stole it. She didn't steal it. She was at our house and she saw it. I had it framed up in the kitchen, and she was like, "That's really cool. I love that." She's like, that would look really good in my apartment. And I was like, all right, there you go. Just take it. I don't mind giving my pieces to friends and family and people that I know are going to appreciate them, because these are pieces that I work on them to be enjoyed. And if they're going to bring joy to someone, then great. You know, my mother has stolen a couple of my pieces. And again, I say stole in the funny sense. She's just been like, I'm going to keep this. So I was like, okay. And again, it brings her joy. She loves it. And so I can't, I just don't, I don't have the desire to take them back. I mean, they look nice in my house too, but if they're bringing someone else joy, then great. So anyway, so long story short, my sister has my arches piece. And I have stitched some stuff specifically for her too. So my next whip is a long dog. And I should say that is being, Zion is being stitched on 20 count Aida. It's just 20 count Aida. It's like a pre-gridded fabric. I forget who makes it. Yeah, I got it years ago. Excuse me. This is Act of God. And that's the mock, that's what it looks like. from Long Dog, and I am stitching this on 28 count. It's not Lugana, it's the other one. I don't know why I can't remember it. It's the other even weave. That's not Lugana. I don't know. 28 count even weave. And I think it's just called Mushroom. Again, I got this at my LNS before they closed. That was so sad. And I'm stitching this with 154. It's monochromatic, and I'm stitching this in VMC 154. And I have, I think, 3 full pages done. And that is where we are at. So I love this piece. I would stitch on the, I went on like a bender stitching on this. Like I finished the 2nd page and then I finished the 3rd page. And I just, oh, I love stitching on this. So that is, and you can just see these tiny little, look at these like little, these little krill here, little shrimpies, and this octopus is so cool. I love, this is like probably my favorite section so far. But look at this chicken that's just it with an ant. And this is beautiful over, I mean, I just love this piece. I love Long Dogs, I really do. So, this is coming along really nicely. Once I finished this 3rd page, I just kind of took a break from it. I was like, I removed it from the Q-snap, so it was a good stopping point, but I definitely foresee myself picking this back up in the near future. So yeah, that's Act of God. This is their newer one. I think it was released for 2024. Love it. So yeah, 154 on like a mushroom color, 28 count 1/1. And I have been loving the 1/1. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I've been loving the 1/1. I could see myself doing another like sampler thing in 1/1. My next project is my Hade. I have not worked on this for a while. I just haven't been in the full coverage mood lately, I guess. So I haven't worked on this in a hot minute. I'll insert the picture here of what it's supposed to look like. This is Disintegration by Stephanie Pui-Mun is the designer. And again, it was charted by Hade, Heaven and Earth Designs. And I am about, oh God, this is so wrinkly. I'm so sorry. I'm actually about like 20% complete. I'm just gonna fold the wrinkled part in half. I think I'm about 20% complete. Because I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know, whatever. Does it matter? I don't know. It's gonna be, I'm gonna be stitching on this for the rest of my life. And I stitched, so that's where we're at with this. And again, it's super wrinkly. And I'll hold it back because it looks so much better when you hold it back. Like when you hold it up close, it's just, it's like shmoo. It just is a hot mess. But you step back and you see it, and it just looks so cool. Now there's another page over here. That's gonna be the last page on the top row. I just didn't feel like stitching a lot of background, so I moved down to stitch down here. I had been kind of burnt out on background from these few pages here, and so I moved down. Let me actually, I feel like this is not, so this is actually getting into the wings of the dragonfly. It looks so much better when you step back from it. I should pick this up. I actually do really enjoy it. I don't know. I went on kind of this smalls kick the last few months, and I think it was just because I was so busy. I was just, and like I said, I'll kind of explain what was going on at the end, but I was just so busy, and it was just to sit down and work on a Hade was just not, it just wasn't gonna happen. So I just yeah, I've been kind of just working, and I've been mostly monogamous stitching, like not monogamous obviously, but like stitching for long periods of time on one project, if that makes sense. So, okay. The next one, this one I don't have a cover picture for either. I forgot. This one is a challah cover for that I am stitching specifically for my sister. I had this grand idea that I was going to get it to her for her first wedding anniversary. They got married October 6th of this year. This is not going to happen. So Maxine, if you're watching this, this will get to you when it gets to you. So this is a challah cover, and I've gotten the center part of it already, and it says, so this is, it's in Hebrew. It says Shabbat Shalom, and on the, around it, it's going to say Shabbat Shalom in English letters. I got the Shalom on the bottom, which just means like happy Shabbat, basically. And for those that don't know, Shabbat is a holiday that we celebrate every week. It is on Friday. It starts Friday night, goes through Saturday. It's the day of rest. And we don't observe it as well as we should. But my husband's actually just last night, we were lighting the candles for Hanukkah. He's like, we should do Shabbat more. And I was like, okay. But one of the things that you serve on Shabbat that's traditional is challah, which is an egg bread, and you say the blessing over the bread, and you light the candles, and you usher in Shabbat. It's really beautiful, beautiful celebration. And it, like I said, it's every week, starts Friday night. Our Sabbath, Jews' Sabbath, is on Saturdays. So, yeah. So I have a long ways to go on this. This is by Kooler Design Studios. This is on 28 count Lugana 2/2. And as per Kooler Design Studios, has a lot of different colors. There's going to be a lot of back stitching. It's going to be a little fiddly. I mean, these letters, like, okay, let me explain these letters to you. Let me see if I can show a good letter. So there are the crosses. It's kind of hard to see. The crosses are, okay, that's pretty much as close as I'm going to get it. The crosses are a blend, so that's fun. And then there's 2 different colors of back stitching in each letter. And there's only like 5 stitches, like 5 full stitches per letter, if that, and some quarter stitches. So there's the S. Those letters might be the death of me. Because like, I mean, just like, look at the back here of this. Like, it's a mess. I don't know. Sorry, it's not. Hang on, my mom's calling me. I'm gonna hang up on her because I'll call her back. Don't worry. So yeah, so Kooler Design Studios. I should have learned my lesson with the matzah cover, but I didn't. A part of it is it's really hard to find really good Judaica patterns out there. There's a lot of like Hanukkah and like little like, you know, funny little things and, you know, menorahs and stuff like that. But there's just not a lot of variety out there that's available. And especially like more religious stuff. It's out there if you look for it, but it's hard to find good ones, I'll be honest. Okay. I think I only have 3 more actually. So my next 2 are my Mirabilias. And let's see, this one is Sapphire Fairy, September Sapphire Fairy. And again, it's so blurry. I haven't figured out the whole, like, is that better? That's better. Okay. So this is September Sapphire Fairy, the Mirabilia. Oh, this one's wrinkly. I divide my Mirabilias into quarters because that's how I do it. how my brain works. So I'm still working on the first quarter of this. And that is how far I've gotten. So I've gotten her wing, this little butterfly, some of her, and there's gonna be beads in here. So all of this sparkle, like the butterfly and the sparkle in here, are all blending filaments. So those are fun. Just kidding, they're not. But yeah, I really like her. She's relatively straightforward. I picked her because I am a September baby. So I figured, I don't know, I just liked it. So she's got a lot of blues in her, but she also has those greens and reds and stuff, which I think is really nice. So that is her. Haven't got super far on her, but far enough. My next one is another Mirabilia. Let me find the, oh, where's the cover photo? Did I, oh, there it is. So this is red, based on Little Red Riding Hood, but obviously all grown up. And she's pretty. She is beautiful. I've gotten a little bit further on her than I have on the Sapphire Fairy. And I actually got her face done because her face was driving me nuts. So this is how far I am on her. Her face was creeping me out. So I like finished all the skin stuff so I could just like backstitch it because I didn't like it. Mirabilia faces are a little creepy until you get the backstitch in, but she's got sass, this lady. Little Red Riding Hood's got some sass. So I finished, this is 1/4 page. The bottom parts are much more stitch heavy. So these aren't like exactly like a quarter of the amount of stitches or whatever. It's just, I cut the pattern and I don't cut it, but like I fold it into 4s. Makes it easier because these ones I can't put on Pattern Keeper. That's a pain in the tuchus. It's red. And she's pretty nice. There's another one. I'm glad I'm doing this because I'm kind of like, oh, I need to pull these out. Like I really enjoy stitching on them. I got to pull this out. So I haven't been stitching as much lately. So that is red. And she is fantastic. She's beautiful. I did sign up to try and go to Queen City again, Queen City Stitch Retreat again this year. Queen City, they this year is going to be another Nora Corbett, another Mirabilia themed or Nora Corbett themed retreat. So I have gone the last 2 years, and I did go the first year when it was Nora Corbett, but we'll see if I get in this year. Yeah, it's always a really fun retreat. So maybe that'll give me some inspiration to work more on my miras. So my last one actually is a Dimensions kit. And this one I really haven't stitched on in a long time. It's got to have been at least a year. This is called Scenic Farm. And this one I picked out because this really reminded me of where I grew up as a kid in Connecticut, old New England. So, and I know there's a few people out there stitching on it, but I haven't stitched on this in like a year because this was like a travel piece. And then I just haven't been traveling as much. My teaching stuff has quieted down significantly since I think 2022 was the big year I was doing a ton. But I've gotten this done. So this is the end of the piece. So this is the furthest to the right. So I did make it all the way to the end there. And then this is the halfway point, which looking back, I probably should have like blended it into the other page, but it's split into 2 pages. So it's really difficult. And they're back to back. So it's like the one side of the pattern's on one side of the page and the other side's on the other side. So it's really difficult to, whatever, doesn't matter. So anyway, Yeah, and then this is all just like block stitching, which is kind of why it's nice for travel, because I in the hotel room, it's hard to stitch on a plane or in the airport, but in the hotel room it's really easy because it's just like block stitching. So this was a little bit more difficult with these. This was a lot of different colors, but look at the shading on that. And I haven't done any of the back stitching. This is going to be a tree. For some reason with dimensions kits, and this is just how I've always stitched them, I always do the back stitching last. And I don't know why I do that. I think that's just how I thought I was supposed to do it. That's kind of how the instructions tell you how to do it. So I stitch everything differently. Like everything gets stitched in a slightly different way. So, okay, so that's all I have. That's my whip parade, my finishes. And as far as like my plans go, I'm just gonna kind of continue. I have a couple of things I do want to start. I'm not gonna show those because I don't know. It's gonna be like, I'm gonna start them when I feel like it. I don't have any plans, like specific plans to start them, but I'll just share them as I go along. As far as filming goes, I'm kind of going to film when I feel like it. It is probably going to be, I'd like to shoot for once a month, but it may be every couple of months. A lot of it really just depends. Thankfully, my life has slowed down significantly since this past year. So hopefully I'll be able to film once a month, but we'll see. And a lot of it's going to depend on if I have anything to show too, because I may not have much to show. So if you are here for the stitching, that is all I have for you. Thank you so much for coming to visit. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate all the people that reached out to me was like, hey, where are you? That was really nice. So everything's all good. But if you want to hang out and hear a little bit more about what I have been up to, here we go. So yeah, so I realized at the end of 2023 that I was going to have to leave my job. Let me get a sip of water really quick. And there were a lot of reasons for that I don't need to go into, but I realized I was going to have to leave my job, that it just wasn't the right place for me anymore. So I started talking to a new hospital. This hospital is a brand new facility that opened. Actually, we just opened this November, and it's a privately owned facility. They have a location up north, and they were opening a new location down south of Salt Lake City in Bluffdale. So I decided to make that move. I left my last job at the end of July. Prior to that, things were really, really crazy. What was I doing? I had like a retreat, and I was doing some retreats and stuff. There was something, and my sister's bachelorette party. Like everything was just happening in the spring and summer. And so that was another reason I couldn't film. My last week of work was the last week of July. The weekend before that, I went to my sister's bachelorette party. There was a big, some of you might remember it, IT outage. I got stuck in Atlanta for 2 days past when I was supposed to leave. And that was my last week of work. So, that got really crazy. And then I actually took 3 months off after I left my job at the end of July. I needed a sabbatical. I was starting to get pretty burnt out. Things were really stressful, and I just needed to take a step back, take a break. And we were lucky enough that we were in a position where we could do that. So my husband and I packed everything up in our truck, and we drove up to Alaska for 4.5 weeks. And that was quite the adventure. We left the animals here. We had someone staying at the house to watch them and to just take care of everything while we were gone. But yeah, we drove up to Alaska for 4.5 weeks. And we just explored Alaska. We went to 5 national parks. We went to, let's see, where did we go? We went to Glacier Bay. We went to Kenai Fjords, Lake Clark, Denali, and Wrangell St. Elias. So we hit 5 of the 8 national parks there, which is, it is extraordinarily difficult to get to some of these parks. We had to take, so in order to get to Glacier Bay, we had to take the ferry from Skagway. We packed the truck onto a ferry, took the ferry to Skagway, from Skagway to Juneau, and then, because you can't drive to Juneau. Funny story, you can't drive to Juneau. And then from there, we had to take a ferry to Glacier Bay. I can't remember the name of the town that Gustavus. You take a ferry to Gustavus and then you get in this like cab. I say like taxi cab because it's just some guy with a van that drives you from the ferry to the national park. It's like a 15-minute drive or whatever. And we camped there and then, repeated the whole thing. We were able to drive to Wrangell. Most of Wrangell is wilderness, so you can't actually go into it, but we did get into part of it. We got into the Kennecott and we hiked on a glacier. From there, we went to Anchorage and we went to, where did we go next? We went to Anchorage for a couple of nights, or for a night, and then we went to Kenai Fjord, or we went to Seward, I should say. We went to Anchorage and then to Seward so that we could go to Kenai Fjords. We did a boat tour in Glacier Bay and we did a boat tour in Kenai Fjords. We got to see a glacier calve, which was probably one of the most incredible things I've seen. It was a big, big calving, and that was a lot of fun. I never thought I would enjoy like a whole day boat tour as much as I did. From there, we went back to Anchorage and we decided to go to Lake Clark. Oh God. So in order to get to Lake Clark National Park, you have to go to Port Allsworth, which is a really tiny, tiny town that the only way to get to it, is there's a barge that will ship things in certain times of the year. But the only real way to get to it is via a tiny plane. And when I say a tiny plane, I'm talking like a 7-passenger plane. It's private airline. You just go and they like weigh your bags, they weigh you, like you're in this tiny plane. I stepped onto this plane and I swear to God, I started crying immediately because I was like, this is where I'm going to die. Like for sure, I'm going to die in this plane. And the pilot was like, oh, look, there's some belugas down in the water. Let's go look. Anyway, so we flew into Port Allsworth. We stayed at an Airbnb. It was like a glamping situation for 3 nights. And we hiked in Lake Clark National Park. Beautiful. Really enjoyed it. Flew back to Anchorage. And then we went up to Wasilla, stayed in an Airbnb for a few nights at a cabin. That was really nice. And then we went up to Denali. Denali is stunning. So we got to see Denali. We were really lucky. We got a beautiful clear view of Denali. And then we went into Denali National Park. We did do a backpacking thing, which there's no trails in Denali, like for backpacking. That was a disaster. I won't go into all of it. It was beautiful, but we did end up having to camp on a ridgeline during a windstorm. And I 0 out of 10 recommend that. We were trapped in the tent for about 16 hours because we just couldn't go outside. It was so bad. So we ended up only spending 1 night backpacking. We had originally intended for 2, but that just didn't work out. And then from there, we just kind of hung out around Talkeetna for a few nights. We camped around Talkeetna. And another highlight of the trip was we got to go dog sledding. Now it was the summer, so they put you in this cart and the dogs like pull the cart and they let you drive the cart. It was so cool. It was like one of the only places in Alaska that does that. And so we got to play with the dogs and it was fantastic. And then from there, we actually shipped the truck back. We had the truck shipped back, which was a whole nother disaster, but worked out. And then flew home. So yeah, it was about 4.5 weeks. We were off the grid, not off the grid, but like out of touch. We were home for a little bit, like about a week, and then I had a big conference down in Palm Springs. So we drove down there and we went to we spent a couple nights in Vegas, kind of off the strip, not kind of, very much off the strip at a resort there. And then we went to Death Valley. We went to Sequoia National Forest, not the national park, and then, but it was still beautiful. And then we went to Joshua Tree before my husband dropped me off in Palm Springs for a week for my conference. And then we were home for a few days. Before we were home for like 3 days before we had to fly to Atlanta for a week because my sister got married. And that was so much fun. We had the best time. She got married. She married a wonderful individual, and we are very happy to have him as part of the family. So that was a whole week process. And then at that point, I had I can't even remember. I had Queen City, Stitch Retreat, followed by Stitch West. So it was a busy, busy, busy 3 months. So even though I was on sabbatical, I wasn't working. I was running ragged. All fun things though. Even the conference, which was technically work related, I had a great time. It's our National Veterinary Dental Conference. And so it's like the time of year I get to see all of my dental geek friends and other dentists from around the country. So anyway, so that was a lot of fun. And then came back and I started my new job. I started my June job, and then the weekend, my first weekend after I started, I went to Portland with some friends. It was me and Michelle and Kim, Christina, and Renee and Kristen. So it was 6 of us, and we went to Acorns and Threads. We stitched in the lobby of the hotel. It was really fantastic. So, and now I've just been working, and it's been insane. It's been insane at work. We had 2 emergencies my first week I was there, and yeah, we weren't like super prepared for that, but we made it work. And we've had a lot of emergencies since then. I definitely am the valley, I say the valley, like all the vets in the valley and the Salt Lake Valley were really happy to have me back, and they've been sending me everything. So I'm like booked out at least a month. It's getting booking out further and further. But it's been crazy. It's been super, super busy at work. I've had some nights where I'm there until 8, 9 o'clock at night. I was there on Thanksgiving. We had actually the day before Thanksgiving, 2 emergencies we had to do. And then that night, another emergency came in, and I was like, I told the owners, I was like, I can't do this. I'm tired, and your cat needs significant surgery. We're doing it the next day. So I had to come in Thanksgiving morning to do this cat surgery. All of my emergency procedures, I just wanted to tell you, are doing really well. So even though, you know, stuff happens, everyone's doing great. So I really enjoy the people I work with. It's a beautiful new facility, and yeah, my husband's doing great. He's been staying busy at work and around the house, and all things are good. So yeah, I'm sorry for all of you people, or all of you guys that thought something had gone wrong. I shouldn't have. I should have. I don't know. I didn't know I was going to take such a break for as long as I did. It just kind of happened. So, but anyway, that's been my life. That's, I think, all I have for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely like and subscribe, and I will see you guys when I see you. All right, take care. Bye.